So I remember like we were playing a show like 2 weeks later with Dead Guy at Middlesex County College, and I called Bailey and I was like, dude, can you just play the show? Like we need someone to play. Like Harley's not going to work out. Like this is going to be too crazy. And so he said, yeah, and I ended up getting knocked out at that show in the first like 10 seconds because Triv swung his bass and the bass hit me right here on my head and just knocked me out like fucking cold. And when they woke me up, they had to like, you know, whatever, bandage up my forehead, and then we played the show. But anyway, like then at that point we found, you know, I was friends with to a degree with Matt Cross, who played an Orange 9mm, and I went to him. I was like, hey, you know, would you be into playing?
Great drummer.
Yeah. Like we had to, you know, like go down to Atlantic Records, and I think it was like Mike Gitter was like the A&R for Orange 9mm, and you know, just make sure it was gonna be cool that he played on the songs on the record, and he was fine with it. So anyway, that's how we did it. But it was I remember we went to Brian McTurnan's to record the record, and you know we only had booked like 3 days because Brian was going on tour with Battery in Europe. So we get there the first day, like we're like, all right, like we're just gonna set up drums and we'll really record and mix the next 2 days. But we got the drums set up right away, and we ended up tracking all the songs in the first day. And there was even a few hours kind of left over. And again, like we were like, all right, we're not going to be a band after this tour. And I don't think any of us thought like, are we going to even ever do a band again? So we were like, all right, let's each pick a song, like a cover song that we want to play, that we want to record, because this is the last time we're going to probably do anything. And so Vic chose a Bad Brain song. Trevor Crom chose a Misfits song. I fucking hated the Misfits. But he chose a Misfits song, and we had been asked to be on a Misfits comp, so he really wanted to do it. But he got to choose a Misfits song, and I chose The Bars by Black Flag, so we did those. And then we still had some time before I had to drive Matt Cross back to New York, because I think we were in Boston. That's where Brian lived at the time. And so Triv played this riff, and we're like, hey, like let's just play this.
This
song.
was that instrumental song.
So it ended up being It was Curse of Instinct, but it was completely an improv song.
Okay.
And they just recorded it. Like we never sat down and wrote a structure, just looking at everybody playing it, and then I just wrote down lyrics real quick, sang them, and that was again the first song I had written for 108, which you know I think you know actually that song I think captures that whole first generation of 108 for me. Like what it was, where my head and heart and experience was. And then I remember we tracked that, and I drove him back to New York and drove straight back to Boston. And the next day, like we did the rest of the vocals and guitars, and then mixed it and left, and that was it. So it was like a 2-day recording, or 3 days recording. And but no, I don't think there was anything on our end of like, oh, this is. You know, it's just like whatever. We're recording a record. Probably it's going to be our last record. But then we had taken another song from that period, that recording session where we were trying to first record some of the LP songs that we scrapped because we didn't like the drummer. We did another song there that was like an improv song, and that was called Pyro Stoke. And so that ended up being on the Curse of Instinct. So two of the songs on the Curse of Instinct EP were like improv songs. They were not like pre-written songs. It was just like, all right, run the tape. We're gonna play, you know, just fucking jam and play and see what happens. And they end up going on that EP.
I remember on that Bloodlet Coalesce tour, you had told me, you were like, we went for a walk and we were talking, and you said the band right now is starting to get a lot more interesting for me. And you had intimated that it was because of this improv stuff that you guys were doing. And you guys even, I want to say, did one of those songs or an improv song that night. My question for you is, what was it about improv that that was like lighting that fire?
And again, I don't want to make it sound like it was like this, or you know, we were an improv band, but it was like that idea of like let's take the energy of what we're feeling in this moment and play something that really reflects that, right? So like every show we played like the staple of songs, but we typically would do like 2 songs that were not songs. We would just play, and really it was just like, However, the songs were radically different every night, those songs, and it was just based on the energy and how we were feeling in that set. And I think that's what helped me because like I'm not an entertainer, I'm not a writer, I'm not an artist. Like this was like therapy to me. And so just going out and playing and expressing in whatever energy is present at that time was like just I don't know, that was more akin to like what I was or what I am in that sense. Like I'm still not. I don't write songs. I don't sit down and write a song, you know. And it's been interesting. Like over the years, I've had a ton of great musicians be like, "Hey, I have these songs. I'd like you to sing on them," and they'll send them to me. And most of the time, I'm like, "These are amazing," but I never do it because I'm like, it's just not. Like, it's not. I don't know what to do with this. That's going to make it better than what you're giving me.
Well,
You know what I mean?
well, no,
So
totally,
that's what
totally.
I liked about doing the songs that way because it's like like one night you might be playing a song and like you like that song resonates with you, but maybe that not that night. Like you're in such a different headspace that night, and so being able to spend 10 minutes of a 50-minute set or 45-minute set playing something and expressing something based on what you're feeling in that moment. Like I just thought that was really like a cool thing. And it's funny, we had done it once. I had done it once before, and this is actually with this was with Hartsfield and Coil. So when Ressurection and Mouthpiece did a tour in California in the winter of 91, and we played in SoCal, and then we went up to play Gilman. And I remember that like the parties had kind of split up on the way up, and so half the bands were late.
Octopus
And
Walker?
yes, and Gilman's like, someone's got to fucking play now. So Daly, Hartsfield, Coyle, and Hartsfield played bass, Daly played drums, Coyle played guitar, and I sang, and we called it Octopus Walker. I don't know why, I don't know where that came from, but it was like something about that to me was like a lot of like fun. And like I said, like the thing with Vic is like he can like that guy's like he's an amazing intuitive guitar player. Triv is like I mean that's the thing. Like I am, and I've always been the least talented person in every band I've been in. But with those guys in 108, like it's silly how talented they are. And so like we could do that and it actually sound good and make sense. So I don't know. I think we all like that. Like it just broke the monotony of playing the same songs every night. And it allowed you to express whatever you were feeling like in that moment,
You know,
which you might not ever feel again. So like it might not be a relevant song the next night, but in that moment it feels really like important to do.
well, in 94, you and I were talking, and you had mentioned to me you had a desire to like do something kind of more melodic. So I always expected to hear, but to my knowledge, you've never gone down that road. What happened? Just
I mean,
because,
I just like when it comes to like I don't listen to music that sounds like music that I play. Like that probably stopped in like 1989, 1990. Right after that, I'd listened to a lot of like very melodic, you know, melodic stuff. But like that's not like again, like I'm not an artist, right? So it's not like I can be like, all right, I'm gonna write a melodic song. Like I can only do what I feel, and for whatever reason, like anything that comes out of me is like anything but melodic. So that I mean, I think when I recorded the Judas Factor LP, Ballads in Blue China, we did two songs on there. One of them was an acoustic song, and the other song again was actually an improv song to some degree. Like we didn't write it going in. We just ended up being like, oh, again, we kind of got through things quick, and I was like, all right, let's kind of play with this thing. And so we wrote two songs there that are where I sing to some degree, but it's just not the energy that happens for me like when I play. And to give you an example, like we just did three shows 108 with Judge. We did Boston, New York, and Connecticut. And the first night in Boston, in soundcheck on the first song, like I got so like again because like it was years between playing, and so I had all this pent up kind of like anxieties and energy that like I ended up swing like kind of I had the mic on a mic stand. I kind of went like this, and the mic swung around, hit me right here. And a minute later, I went like this, and my hand was covered in blood. And so I like split my chin open. But like the point is that like even in that setting, like whatever it is, like with music and me, like when it's me expressing it, it's this very frantic, heavy thing. So that's probably why. Like